And one of the things that you do see in clinical practice is that many people's problems are associated with their inability to break free of their family. Like they're consumed by the family drama, right? Remember in Sleeping Beauty, you may remember this in the Disney movie, the evil queen traps the prince in a dungeon and she's not going to let him out till he's old, right? And so there's this comical scene where she's down in the dungeon, he's all in chains, and she's laughing at him, telling him what his future is going to be like. She's quite evil. And you know, she paints this wonderful picture of him being freed in like 80 years and hobbling out of the castle on his horse that's so old he can barely stand up, and him with gray hair, and you know, and she recites this story of his eventual triumphant departure from the castle as an old and decrepit man, and she has a great laugh about it. And it's nice, you know, it's a real punchy story. It's really something wonderful for children, that story. He gets free of the shackles, and the things that free him are three little female fairies. So it's the positive aspect of the feminine that frees him from the dungeon. So it's very interesting and very accurate from a psychological perspective. It's the negative element of the feminine that encapsulates him in the dungeon, and it's the positive element of the feminine that frees him. And then he has the queen, the evil queen, is not very happy when he escapes. You may remember this. She stands on top of her castle tower and starts to spin off cosmic sparks. I mean, she's quite the creature, enveloped in flame, and then she turns into a dragon. And then the prince has to fight with her. It's a brilliant representation of a successful hero myth. He doesn't end up staying in an unholy relationship with his mother, let's say. He escapes and then conquers the worst thing that can be imagined, and is ennobled by that, and that as a consequence he's able to wake the slumbering feminine from its coma. And so you have to keep your relationship with your children pristine, and that means that you can't hold a grudge or resent them.
How morally and ethically bound is a mother to make sure that both her and her partner, whether it's the actual father of the child or whatever other future partner she may have, how bound is she to ensure that both her and her partner fundamentally like, accept, and approve of that child of hers?
If you like them, and you're kind of sensible, and maybe your partner also likes them, so you know, you got a consensus going there, there's a reasonable possibility that other people will actually like them too, and then the world will open up to them, you know.
And what about in cases where you fail to cultivate the genuine love for your children?
All they learn is that adults have a false smile, but they're really lying all the time. God, it's like a bit of hell, and there's a lot of children who are trapped in that. It's really awful to see. I can see kids like that when I walk down the street, you know. It's like they're little doomed things, and there they are, and you know, they're screwed in 15 different ways, and there's no way out of it. It's really awful. So I would not recommend that you do that. It's better to notice that you're a bit of a monster, or a lot of a monster. But if you think you're a good person and that you'd never do anything that was harmful to your children, then you can just forget about that, because you'll never take it seriously enough to actually learn. So if you're dating a narcissist or in a relationship with a narcissist,
as is the case when someone in Barbara's position starts dating someone who obviously is himself a very apparent narcissist as well, what kinds of things will we expect from such a person in that position as he is?
They'll alienate all your family members so that they get all the attention. And that'll just be the first of the games they play with you.
Yeah.
But not every mom in the world would enable such a thing. It's not a given. There's only one specific type who's capable of that by their own deficits. What kind of type is this?
I was taking care of these little kids one afternoon, and so this little guy came in, and he was about 3 years old.
When I had come home that day, that kid was standing in the porch by himself, looking miserable while the other kids were playing. Anyways, Tammy fed him, and he got right to the bottom of the bowl and finished it. And she said, "Look, you finished it. Look what you did." And he just lit up into a huge smile.
Oh, that's going to make me cry.
Yeah, oh, it's worse.
So
it's worse. It's worse.
He wasn't toilet trained yet.
Yeah, he followed Tammy around for the rest of the day
terrible.
like a puppy. Like he was right on her path. And then
Yeah. When we sat down, we used to go downstairs and watch Disney, and he sat on my knee.
he climbed right up on her and grabbed her like that little monkey clinging to the wire mother in the famous experiments. And then, Jesus Christ, his mother came home and came downstairs, and she saw this kid clinging to Tammy, and she said, "Oh, super mom," and grabbed him by the hand and left.
Eric and Lyle shot and killed their parents, Jose and Kitty, at their home in Beverly Hills in August 1989. Eric was 18 and Lyle was 21. At first, the brothers claimed burglars must have killed their parents while they were out at a movie. Jose Menendez worked in upper management at RCA Records at the time, and the family was incredibly well off. Prosecutors later charged Lyle and Eric in 1992 with killing their parents, claiming the sons wanted their parents' money to themselves so they could fund a lavish lifestyle.
This, of course, is the famous Menendez brothers case from the late 80s, early 90s. The question here being, why is it that this particular group of brothers didn't just kill one parent, as might be typical, but in fact killed both their parents at the same time?
At trial, the brothers said they endured years of abuse at the hands of their father and that their mother enabled it. At the hands of their father and that their mother enabled it. And that their mother enabled it.
So karmically, enablers are seen as being just as guilty as the actual abuser himself or herself in any given situation. For if someone gives an abuse to someone, but that abuse, to prolong that course of abuse, it would not be possible without someone else who would be in a position to stop it, being told, hey, this is abuse, hey, stop that, disavow that, and then that person, she instead does nothing. This is the same as if that were the abuser, him or herself. It's the same thing. So where one is guilty and the other is enabler, that translates into both are guilty. And that's why these two brothers murdered both of their parents and not just one.
It's not enough to cut off the abusive parent or the abusive spouse or the abusive sibling. That's not enough, dude. You got to cut off the enablers too. Because the whole abuse system, especially the intergenerational trauma, the family systems, the family scapegoating bullshit, that's all an integrated network of abusers and enablers. And the machine does not operate without the enablers, right? So cut the enablers out of your life too. They're going to abuse you by proxy, enablers do. And even some of them don't even know what they're doing, but they're abusing you by proxy. They're re-traumatizing you. They're invalidating you. They're gaslighting you. So cut off the abusers and cut off their enablers too. The enablers are freaking, again, I remind you, the machine of abuse does not work without the enablers. The enablers, as far as I'm concerned, are freaking abusers themselves. They're aiding and abetting abuse. I don't see any difference between the enablers and the freaking abusers other than one is just carrying out the abuse. The other one is freaking enabling the abuse, right? The abuse doesn't happen without the enablers, ever.
Underground and like saying, what you want to do is, for your child, is that you want the best for the best in them. That's what you want. And that's what you want from people that you surround yourself with. Now, they'll hold you to a high standard if that's the case, right? Because whenever you degenerate in any of the multiple ways that you're likely to degenerate, they're going to like whack you on the back of the head and say, clue the hell in, you're demeaning yourself, you're less than you could be. And there's real judgment in that, and it's harsh, but with friends, it's the same thing. You want friends. They're not friends if they're not these people. It's really hard to stand up and say, no, I don't buy that. No, I don't buy that. No, you're wrong about that. You have to be a brutal bastard in order to do that. But hey, sometimes, like, surgery is brutal, right? It's brutal.
Okay, resuming here. It's about 2 or 3 days since I last recorded some earlier portions that were contained in the previous video uploaded. Now, to mention a note, twice my phone was, the recording was stopped suddenly multiple times while I was talking about what was going on. So, well, we've compiled a few things since then, and that I'll resume now to continue about what I was saying. Now, it's late, I believe it was about late 2017 or possibly approximately something like this.
The police were in my apartment. My dad had called them. My mom, instead of being good morally, instead believes that it's correct and just fine to do whatever you want, even though it does obviously trample and stomping on the dignity of the fucking person whose house she's in right there. As if it's okay. A dictator can do whatever she wants, right? It doesn't matter that my son doesn't like that I'm trying to do this. I will do it anyway, because I think I'm immune. Madre means God, right? I could just crush anyone and then they have to love it if they're my son. Anyone else I have to respect, have to be nice, but my son, no, it's the opposite. You get it? You're supposed to be even more regardful to your adult male king sons than to strangers. The opposite. Okay, so whatever level of regard you have for everybody generally, increase it way more, and then that's the level that's fit for the oldest male of the family. Duh. The hell? The hell, what other rules should fit? There is none. Now, it's also my goal to make these recordings as efficient as possible. I've used up already four plus hours and more just to express the fundamental things. It's amazing that it takes this long, and yet it does. And I have no choice. It has to be said. And nevertheless, I'm trying to do the best I can. So it's a little bit of a trade-off between covering every single detail, which is the good thing to do. It takes so much time. Alternately, I could just summarize it quick. It'll be easier for everybody, and yet at the same time, too much may be missed. And perhaps a happy medium somewhere in the middle is the optimal balance. I don't know. But anyway, I'm going to do the best I can to be efficient while still being effective. Here's what's happened. Now, as suggested prior, the police weren't accepting my mom's claims that there's apparently some kind of a schizophrenic claim because her son wants to go to another country to get medical treatment because he's concerned about his health, the symptoms of which are plainly and manifestly obvious to everybody else. Of course not. But guess what, everybody? We all know what the standard for involuntary seizing of an individual is when you want to take them for a psych evaluation. It's very clear. It is two classes of persons or parties who are bound by certain restrictions and obligations when it comes to how and when it can be permitted to seize someone against their will to submit them for a psychiatric evaluation. That is, again, against their will. Those two parties are, number one, doctors and hospitals who would receive such persons. You're not allowed to receive and accept and hold them against their will, which is regulated by this law 939 of the mental hygiene law. And another section, which we'll look at very shortly, is the section that similarly bounds the police officers as the ones in that position who would be taking such people. Obviously, regarding emergency admissions for immediate observation, care, and treatment, it is only acceptable for them to hold a person who is alleged to have a mental illness for which immediate observation, care, and treatment in a hospital is appropriate, which means that it's something that necessarily can only be done in an involuntary emergency setting that cannot just as easily be handled in an outpatient setting voluntarily by a person's own regular course of doctors and treatments or regular psychiatric visits or anything like that. But here's the critical thing, and which is likely. And a reasonable likelihood means that is clearly greater than 50% chance that in that situation there's likely to result in serious harm to himself or others. And it's defined as meaning serious bodily harm. Serious bodily harm means damage to bones, organs, and is a sign of a danger that is clearly greater than even surface level harm. The type of injury sustained in a typical assault may not even arise to what's legally classified as serious bodily harm, but it's serious bodily harm that must be the greater proportion of likelihood before it could even be considered that a hold is legally justified. You see that? That's very, very critical to note. Okay? Homicidal behavior, violent behavior, and get clear on the definition of violent, kids. It seems that you don't remember what violent means in this world. Well, every single ingenuous claim that is ever made in regards to what has happened in this world, where the words used are twisted in their definitions, or used in a funny way to describe things where it ordinarily wouldn't fit, you will be crushed by God because he hates that stuff. Get it? Very clear. Well, you decided to misuse the word, so you must pay the price. It's as simple as that, and I pray for it every day, that you are brought to the fucking pain and horror of daring to misuse and misspeak against me, even half a hair's worth of thickness of a claim against anything. Not even a toe will be moved the wrong way against me, or it'll be invoked that you will suffer for that. Very clear. Till your little reptilian brains are conditioned. Me go ouch every time I try to hurt him, therefore I don't have to learn from my ouches. Do you get it? It has to hurt you to fuck up in this world. That's the only way you people learn anything, when you don't have morality. So first we'll assume you're moral, and we'll do the nice way, like, listen, it's not right, so stop it because it's not right. But when you fail to do that, then I say, okay, God, make sure they have horrible things happen to them. And then, my life is horrible because I dared to do the wrong thing. So now your reptilian brain is re-encoded. You like that better? You stupid idiots are the ones who picked that for yourself. Anyway. And now jumping to 941, I believe this is what bounds the police officers. It just clearly, simply says, police officer cannot accept anyone to take them against that person's will involuntarily, unless it is clear that he first does reasonably appear to be mentally ill. They have to reasonably appear right in front of their eyes. So they can't accept hearsay testimony from someone else saying, oh, he's ill because I say he is. I have seen things and let me tell you about it, because that's called hearsay. And is reasonably clearly conducting himself in a manner which is likely to result in serious bodily harm to himself or others. Serious meaning long-term protracted hospital requiring level of serious bone, organ damage, or other serious tissue damage, like long-term cuts with scars and like horrific disfiguring things. Those are the definitions. You see? Or even little fights won't arise to that. A little fight on its own is not enough to secure a suspicion for a grave or a serious bodily harm. You people understand the difference? Only such officer who sees that thing may be allowed legally to then direct the removal of such person. But if you ever try to direct the removal of such person when any of those single elements are missing, you will be paying lots of money. Very easy. So do you now really see how I've trapped all of you? Because your little doggy brains keep thinking, you don't even realize how blind you are. So you keep thinking you're right when actually you're wrong. It has to hurt you to dare to act on something when you actually were wrong, so that in the future, the next time you think, oh, should I do this or that? All you'll remember is the pain from having done the wrong thing the last time. Anyway, so obviously in that situation where this woman is telling these officers, hey, listen, there's something wrong. He wants to go to clinics in Mexico, and I'm standing there without making any kind of problem. Do you understand it's illegal to try to compel or coerce someone to take them against that person's will? Exactly for the reasons that I just described and showed on this screen. So therefore, only psychopathic, narcissistic type of cluster B personality traits / mental illnesses and that general sphere of overall substantive dysfunction that underlies all that type of thing in general, it can only be from that. No one who instinctively loves other people will also instinctively move to disregard their rights. This isn't Poland. This isn't, you know, we could do anything because mommy said so. I don't know how the hell your crazy laws work there. But this is a country of free, when people go crazy about freedom, 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 that's exactly what it means. It means every sovereign is a genuine sovereign. So therefore, another king trying to go with you to war as you being a king too is just war. So now you're going to be paying for the price of war. You don't get to just do whatever you want, dumbasses. Obvious. So on the face of it, it was a ridiculous petition. And the cops again said, you know, I hate calls like this. And they got out of there. They walked away. Here's what's interesting. As soon as they left, now, imagine from my mother's position. She just tried to get her son, like get the jump on him, like take advantage of a situation. What do you think this does to the accord and trust that I have for this woman? You think it builds it or breaks it down? Oh, it breaks it down. Oh, but is it a moral wrong to do anything that causes your family members to trust you less? Where you didn't have the right to do the thing that caused that lack of trust, that decrease in trust to happen? Oh, so who's bad? Why is that? Why it is, in fact, yes, wrong to do those things? Because it transgresses against the person's dignity? Ah, because you shit on, you know, it's like, I don't care if they trust me or not. I'm God, I'll do whatever I want. That's the psychotic bullshit. Now she's there, and you know, I look at her like, you know, okay, what the, kind of just chill, like, you know, that was weird. What the hell was that, Mom? You know, instead of, now, mind you, if you're a normal person and you're in that situation and you just made a grave error of judgment, and now you see that, of course, it was unmerited and unwarranted and non-improper for me to have done that. The first thing that should happen is remorse. The second thing that should happen is the instinct to apologize. Like, you know what, I realize I did wrong, I'm sorry. Because now you fucked up against that person. And your conduct, the way you are and the way you look and your mind will show, and you obviously know what it is that, to mean that you really have fucked up. But if you're a healthy person, morally integrous person, you bow your head, say, oh, look, I really realize I messed up. I'm sorry. All right, please forgive me. I know I violated your trust by doing that. You were here at home today. You didn't do nothing wrong today. And then these cops came in because of your father. I have no idea what even happened. And then I decide to use that as some kind of quick opportunity to try to, like, get you when you did nothing wrong today. And even though my own judgment is wrong, because obviously, why would you wanting to go to clinics across the world to get treatment that's not offered in this country? Because obviously we know that. Why should I think that that's schizophrenic? Huh. Wow. That makes no sense either. That in itself is schizophrenic. That is delusional. A delusional belief is a belief that is ununderstandable as to how you could come to that conclusion in the light of the surrounding evidence and circumstances that is apparent to any person reasonably in that situation who's there in that person's shoes. So are you the one with the delusional disorder? Much more likely so, it seems, because that's the insanity, isn't it? Well, my audience, let me tell you what happened. We identified that it would obviously be someone who would be apologetic that would be the right and reasonable type in this situation. Do you know what my mom did? She For the first time in our lives, have I seen her exhibit this kind of look. It's the, oh shit, I fucked up, but I didn't get away with it kind of look. So now I have to, I'm so like guilty of having to, like, I failed to secure the screw of the person I was trying to just antagonize against, and now I'm here and I have to like account for that shit. Instead of being apologetic, no, only a sicko will not be apologetic. She simply looked down, looked nervous, eyes darting around like, I have to go. And I'm like, hold on, but this is not when you go. This is when the hell you start explaining what the hell it was. Yeah, real convenient, right? This is now when you go, huh? First you try the screw, and then when it doesn't work, then you try to get out of Dodge, right? Sick. I was actually very, very calm. I'm just standing there like chill, you know, just like, now what the hell was all this, you know? And she's just like, I have to go, like sneaking out, like you just got caught doing the terrible thing and you don't even know how to face it, so you're just leaving with like shame blasted all over the front of your face. That was my day that day. Is that how a person in my high dignity is supposed to be treated and esteemed? That once you do try to screw me but you fail, that after that it's okay to not give an apology. It's actually just okay to just leave and then try to screw you another day. Live to fight another day is like, yeah, I don't care about maintaining your dignity or the quality of our mother-son relationship. You're just a thing for me to manage and exert control over. That's the sickness. Kill yourselves in this life when you dare to dream that way. All of you evil pieces of shit. Get it? Because you're disgusting. Morons. Now, interesting follow-up. In some cases, they don't even check the person's database, dispatch history, whatever in the police system. Now, I was dealing with some legal issues back then regarding the claims that were made by the girl. And by the way, there's something more even relevant here too, which I should mention because it is interesting. So that was in the history now. Now, those cops leave, but later they go into their cars, they do some punching in after the fact, find all this history regarding, oh, look at these claims. Oh, he was arrested about a year ago, and it's facing so many years. And then earlier this year, we were called around by the same mother, and we did take him to the psych ward because what? Because she said he was punching the wall, but she said punching holes in the wall. It's not true. There's no hole in the wall. So again, it's all sick. False statements to police, false framing, false interpretation. That's delusional. That's why God and men say women are not allowed to be judges and make statements and be witnesses and be trusted, because it's all you don't even realize how short you are on neural power to process things correctly, but you really do believe it's correct. Any world that's given to women to run will be a world that's destroyed. Everybody fucking knows this. It's the most obvious thing ever. Stop trying to control it. And every man who gives up control to women in that respect is stupid. Stupid. Set your worlds on fire for doing that. Idiots. Now, they eventually came back. Here's the funny thing. After all that happened, and then I had to deal with the indignation of my own mother walking away instead of bowing her head but correctly apologizing to show that she regards the relationship of the mother-son relationship. No, she doesn't regard that. She regards the success of my own tactics. And what I want is what I get, then is good. If I don't get what I want, then that's not acceptable, but it's always okay for me to continue to try to get what I want, regardless of the effect on other people. Now, what's psychopathy defined as, my friends? What is it? A disregard for the rights of others. That's it. That's what psychopathic behavior is. A disregard for the rights of others. If your instinct is such that when you operate from it, it plainly, when unchecked, goes in such a way that it doesn't respect the rights of others and how you operate, you're a cluster B personality type, which is a whole related set of problems. Narcissistic, borderline personality disorder, psychopathic, antisocial personality disorder. It's all tied in and they're all related. They're different faces and forms of the same tied in together substantive dysfunction, which is the I don't click with it all around me in the correct way. Okay? That's not acceptable. So, you know, after that, I left immediately. I'm like, I was so pissed off. First I had to deal with nonsense from my dad. Then I had to deal with nonsense from my mom. In both cases, each parent's jumping instinct from their own gut was a grossly incorrect one. So I'm like, I don't have parents. I have two sickos. And I know my dad's dead, so I don't really mean that. His was a sickness, but from my mom, I don't know what that is. If she denies she's got any kind of problem, well then that's worse for you, because that means you're evil. That means your reckless disregard is your moral responsibility. Sickness would abrogate you of that and relieve you of that responsibility. So I walked out. As I'm a block away around McDonald Avenue walking down, I see police cars zooming back around to East 2nd Street. I'm like, what the hell is this? I'm like, is that related to me somehow? But I had Phenibut radar, so as soon as I saw it, I knew from the Matrix. I'm like, I feel and understand that is related to me, which it shouldn't be. And no surprise, a while later, my mom comes back out. I forgot I call her. She calls me. And she's like, yeah, those cops came back because they saw like records about you. You have some kind of history. You were called earlier. So they came back to see what they could do. But my God, if I wanted more money, I should have stayed around. Because if you can't make as we read on the screen already, you have to be a serious and active threat to somebody. Guess what, guys? Having schizophrenia, in those cases where people do have it, even that is not enough to take someone against their will. Can you people wake up? If you're a schizophrenic king, you're still a king. You never gave away the right. Only your risk that you're hurting people now is why you can be taken. You can't be taken because someone thinks you're delusional. He has the freedom to be crazy. Do you understand the principle there? You even have the sovereign freedom to be crazy if you want. Good luck. You get to treat it however you want. Until you become a physical threat to yourself and other people that's connected to the illness. So get clear. So man, I would have just had a more of a lawsuit claim accrued. So many times in my life I get falsely based legal things where the ones against me would swear it's true, but every time it falls because you don't have enough neurons in your brain to show you clear reality. Everyone else's eyes are fuzzy. As Christ said in the New Testament, first, you hypocrite, don't point out what other people are doing, not that you think is not so wrong, trying to clear out the specks and the dust and the chips and planks and other gunk that you think is in the other person's eyes when you yourself have the gunk in your eyes. First, wipe off the huge beams and planks and chips and massive accumulations that are blinding you away from your eye. Then you will be able to see clearly enough to help the other person wipe theirs. That's quoting the Bible. That's correct sense. You don't even realize that you're blind is the sickness. Stop it. Stop thinking. Stop relying on yourself as if you are God, that you're so clear in your minds. You're not. So I'm still outside doing my own thing. Later, you know, the cops left, but apparently they tried a second visit to investigate more as to what the problem was. Of course, no crime and no serious threat of harm to anyone else means they wouldn't have been able to lawfully take me anyway. I was just enjoying my day and did nothing wrong to anyone that day at all. And there's no sign of a mental illness. He wants to go to Mexico. So how does that show me anything is wrong? What's the context? Why do you think that's nuts? Why should I believe that's nuts? It's all sick. So let's review what happened then. Now, obviously, my mom is upstairs in 6D. Eventually, I come back around home, and I decide to speak to her directly on these matters. Mind you, like I mentioned, she didn't even know what the hell happened or why any of this started happening. Now, even though what I should have done was never speak to her again on the account of the insult, I was still a little too nice then. The bullshit programming I got from her herself with how she raised me. I had to retrain myself out of that to now give you severe scars and burns every time you even dream to fucking touch me for one moment wrong. Brrr. Suffer. I suffer every time. Therefore, don't harm Kingmaster. Get it? It will hurt you every time you try to do that. You have to be programmed and conditioned like Pavlov's dogs how to behave. There's the only way with you idiots. Your types in this world. So, you know, I'm not in my apartment, but I go straight up to her. Mind you, this is the apartment that, number one, I grew up in, and number two is where my mom lives. You see that? So, objective context, what's going on? Okay, the son who's just falsely accused of, what a bad day for him. We all feel bad for this guy. These crazy spin jobs by clearly delusional people, all of them are out of their minds, doing all this nutty stuff. So he does what? He goes upstairs to the mother's house, okay, probably to, debrief, explain? Yeah, okay. All right, is anything wrong with that picture? No, of course not. That's a son going to the mother's house to explain what, for them to talk about what the hell just happened. All right, nothing wrong with that at all. Okay. So there I am. I knock, I get in. She opens the door, I come in. She explains, yeah, they were here again. They tried to come again. As I said, they found more information, so they were concerned that they wanted to double check more, but you were gone. I'm like, good that I was gone. But now, and then she's like, so now, but what happened? I don't even understand why they came in the first place. This part did not really make sense to me. I'm like, yeah, I'm thinking funny that you were so actively eager to do something even though you didn't even understand the basis of what was going on. That's true snake. That's true snake, where you don't even permit yourself to understand the thing fully before you act. And isn't that the definition of irresponsible action in life? Right there. Never act when you don't understand the basis for a thing. Imprudence. This is, such a thing is. In the highest definition of the word, the highest meaning of the word. Not allowed to be imprudent. Reasonable persons are definition persons who are prudent in their evaluating and acting. See that? So right there on the face of the situation, my mother already demonstrated what type of character and person am I? Unreasonable. Because imprudent. And will move and vie for and strive for things that I don't have the proper merit to try to secure, but I will try to reach for them anyway. That's evil. That's bad. Always correct such things, my friends. When people try to do things like that against you in this world, always shame them viciously and then cut them off for sure if they double the offense by failing to atone for the mistake they made by admitting it was a mistake and paying for it willingly, by bowing their heads in shame and serving you properly, to reinvesting in the trust that will slowly be built over time. That's your only damn obligation when you mess up in this life, and you have none other. So I'm up there, she's asking me what happened. I begin to tell her, look, here's exactly what happened. Because she didn't know any of it. What was the basis of them coming? Listen, I was talking to my father earlier. Oh yeah, your father. This is a conversation between me and my mother about my father and what he did as interacts with what she did, with what interacts with what I'm doing. Okay, this is a strict family issue that I'm speaking that's highly important because they were just involved the cops coming to the apartment multiple times. So whose sovereign right is it to stand in the family home of the mother where the son went to visit the mother in the family home? There's nothing more sovereign and personal and entitled than that. You understand? Of course. And as we're talking about these important matters and I'm catching her up on exactly what happened and why, therefore, you know, it was clear as eventually made by me that those police had no right to be coming, and you know, my father may have been a little out of his mind at the time, but that's what happens in life sometimes, sadly. As we're speaking in the middle of this, standing by the kitchen, the mom's boyfriend comes out from the bedroom. Comes around towards the kitchen where we're standing. He doesn't really see too much at all, except that there's also something with police, but obviously he knows even less. Now, if you're a prudent person, you see your girlfriend's son has come up and there's some kind of serious matter and the police are involved, and the other parent of the person is involved, and your girlfriend is involved, and there's communications going on there. It's a very important thing. If you happen to be living there too, because for some reason your girlfriend's stupid enough to let you, despite your clear moral shortcomings, you will pay for everything that you've done, one way or another. But when you're a man in that position, you come out, what's the reasonable thing to do? Class? Is it A, ask what happened, B, sit and listen and try to ascertain what's going on, build some context, C, you know, anything else that might still be halfway reasonable, even if it's a little less, or is it D? Without any idea, just like a blind pig, run up to them, turn towards the son, me, and say in Polish, proszę wyjść z tego mieszkania. This translates into, get out of this apartment. Anybody listening right now would be brought to indignation. What? What? No. Who the hell does this guy think he is saying that? You don't have a moral right to say that at all. It's not right. That's your girlfriend's son going up there and they're talking about important things? But if they don't value you as a human being, then life is all about trying to get away with shit that otherwise wouldn't be fit for other people to eat. Treatment-wise. It's all about getting away with indignation. I looked at him, again, puzzled, as if to frame like, you know, what you just said doesn't make sense, don't even try to say it again. But of course, he doesn't take hints, so he just says the same thing. Proszę wyjść z tego mieszkania. At which point my mom has to chime in. Oh, no, listen, it's okay. Like, he's here. He's a lot of crazy things have happened. It's about his father and him and this thing and police. No. It's fine that he's here. It's fine. He could stay. He could stay. Do you guys see how sickly framed the presuppositions about all this is sick? 999 out of 1,000 families where the son goes visits the mother, where the mother is a live-in boyfriend there, the live-in boyfriend wouldn't dream of coming up to that person's son openly saying, get out of this apartment. You don't have the fucking place to do that. It's not your place. It's all sickness. All right, but instead of apologizing, he doesn't apologize anything. Moreover, this puts me in a fucking strange situation. I'm in my family home where I grew up, and an outsider, essentially, who's never accepted by this family properly, and make no mistake about it, he is not accepted or approved of by this family. And where I rightly am the patriarch of this family at this point, make it clear permanently, he is not accepted by this family. He's the oldest living male in my family. I'm telling you, that is not our friend. That is the enemy. It will never be. Now, more indignation piled on. So, a third source of crazy bullshit. Who is there to reprogram these idiots? Why is the rest of the world here like, John, obviously you're kind of right because all of this is crazy. So why do these people think they could keep doing these crazy things? I say, I don't know. That's exactly why I'm doing all this shit years later. Because it keeps happening and no one's stopping them to correct them, to give them the teaching, the life lesson teaching. Hey, stupids, did you not get life lesson from moral class when you went to school when you were kids? It's called, don't do this, what you're doing here, stupid idiots. Now I'm in a position where I obviously have the right to be there and tell her what the hell is going on. At the same time, he comes out and fucking says, you know, get out of here. He doesn't even say, I don't want you here, or is it so important that you should be. He doesn't even beat around the bush. That's the real insult. It's not even like, let me try to petition to see if I could get away with it. It's audacity. Just put more audacity. It's just blind, just 0 to 100. It's just hammered 100 every time without even looking what you're doing or how you're hitting or why. I hate these types most of all. That is the lowest of this earth, and not any other kind. Never dream to act without justice in your actions. So I'm standing there. I'm not going to continue being there. I'm not going to be defiantly standing somewhere where I'm not even appreciated or wanted in a situation. It's an indignation even for my mom to have to step in and say, oh no, it's fine, it's fine. I permit it. I say it's okay. It was okay before anything ever happened. It's always okay. I'm the fucking inheritor, eldest male son, you fucking idiots. You bow to me, you piece of shit. Stupid idiot. You're the third fucking wheel. And for dreaming you're not, it has to just only hurt you even more to attempt to think so arrogantly. And yet, I won't continue to stand there in that apartment in a place where I'm not wanted. So I simply said, all right, you know what? This is fucking bullshit. I am getting the fuck out of here. Fucking my own presence in my own house, that still is my house. Karmically and spiritually, it's always my house. You're just a fucking temporary piece of shit who's installed there until the day you're not. And may you drop dead as soon as humanly possible. God willing. Fucking inshallah. Till fucking hell is where you'll be fucking going. Burn your stupid fucking worthless garbage soul to the fucking rest of eternity, you piece of human garbage. Dream you could even fucking for 1 second do anything except bow. Fucking moron. I don't need my fucking woman mother going, no, it's okay. It goes without saying it's okay. Idiots. No one else on earth would be fucking dream to be put in that situation. Thank God. Everybody else, at least in an objective audience kind of way, would be like, yeah, you are right, dude. You're angry, but you're right, because that's crazy. and no one else would ever be able to get away with that and fool or gaslight the victim into successfully believing that that's fine. That is acceptable for you. Oh, I shouldn't be here? Oh, no. Oh, okay. Thanks for telling me, God. The false laws of your sick devil mind? Sure. I never was that way. That's the problem. That's why I say narcissists hate people who wake up and are resistant to the bullshit programming. I never believed it. So I'm only a problem, a subjective problem from their standpoint only. I'm not an objective problem. That's me. I'm validly in objective reality, always correctly establishing the correct rights of the situation. And the sickos who believe in twisted versions of their twisted justice is not real justice, operate in their sick way. So I leave. Pretty much go straight out of the apartment. I'm not going to fight. By the way, they're in their domicile they live in. So I'm not going to be I'm not going to bring them to indignation by fighting them in their own house. I'm not that stupid. It's time to leave. So I'm walking out, and then what's the saying when you add insult on top of injury? Now, you would think that if you're some stupid oaf who comes out and says, please leave this apartment, you see? And then even though the guy rightly despises that you're saying it because it's not right, he pretty much doesn't show contempt of resistance in such an open, disregardful way, but shows to comply. Sure. You want it that way? Have it. Fucking, I'll never come up here again. That's how you fucking want it. I moved towards the door. You think that's the correct time to then, they showed a little bit, so you show a little bit. By now you can step back off of your platform and, well, see, there's no issue, so don't press to make more antagonization, because insult on top of injury would be just a double offense, is double arrogant. Now, instead of what a reasonable person would do, which is to just be like, well, okay then, and turn around and go fucking back to your room, and there's no problem, so what the hell? No, do you know what he did? As I'm walking out, he then turns around and further adds, you are just like your father. In front of me and in front of my mom. Can someone in the audience tell me how this is morally acceptable for one in his position to attempt to dare to say this to me? No, it is not right. And where such a thing goes unchecked and unapologized for, is it correct for one in my mother's position to continue to endorse him and his any supposed moral integrity of his as being fit for that family life? So you see the fucking sick position that she has created. It's called, I picked a man and brought him in here who doesn't fit, but I don't care that he doesn't fit. I'm gonna force a square peg into a round hole, and everybody just has to deal with it, no matter how fucking annoying it is for everybody. Is that moral or is that sick? So it's very clear. It's very clear. Alright? I should have fucking, walked up to him and knocked his fucking lights out immediately. I'd have gone to jail, got a good assault charge, and then come back, and that shit would have never happened again. And I'd say, good. The criminal history is worth it, because there's a net good in this world. You see? You have to teach people not to fucking insult your dignity, because there will be a painful price. But I didn't do that. No. I'm too responsible, you see? As sick as I was, I left. Disgusting. First you do something immoral, and then when people comply with your immorality, instead of then showing, okay, well then that's good, then I have nothing else to say. No, do a second dupe of fucking shit on a person's head after they deal with your first shit. That's what it means not to throw pearls before swine. Accepting anything that comes from sick people is throwing pearls before swine. Your acceptance of that. Don't give it to them. And where someone stands and endorses it by not throwing the guy out, obviously, they're just as guilty. If I get a girlfriend, bring her around to meet my mom one day, and then my girlfriend starts cursing at my mom viciously, first my mom will be very angry with the girl I just brought around, but not yet angry at me. Still, not this mom. She's fucking screwed up. Let's say I'm anybody else in this world. Normal family. So I have a normal mom somewhere else. She loves me, clearly. So she's angry at the girl, but loves me. Well, as soon as she finishes rebuking the girl, she then turns to me, and there's an expectation form that's called, okay, well, obviously what you did was wrong, but now, son, you need to support the fact that it's not okay for a girl you bring around to curse at me without cause and abuse me in front of you and all of us. It's against my dignity. So obviously, now, son, that's not right, we just saw, so go ahead and disavow it. Now, as soon as it's disavowed, clearly that's correct. And if I disavow it, but the girl still doesn't apologize, well, how are you going to have a relationship a day longer with that person? It's so sick. The instinct would call for, like, girl, you can't diss my mom, and then she calls you on it, and you don't change. I say, dude, girl, she's right. You can't do that. You got to apologize. She doesn't. She continues acting in the same disrespectful way to my mom. Is it then okay for me to turn to my mom and say, oh, well, that's how she is? She'd say, have her apologize. I need a damn apology. Maybe she'll give one. I'll work on it. And then a year will go by. I work on it still sometimes. And then she'll come back around, give her more verbal abuse, go to her house, try to push her, knock her down. Or not knock her down, but knock her grandpa down. Huh? Say she's like her father. Who the fuck are you to even be talking to this person like this? So therefore, is it that I'm innocent anymore when I sit and enable this abuse and just say, it's okay. All right, honey, come back now. Okay, that's fine. Let's go home again. La, la, la. Everything's fine. And then maybe sometimes I'll say, let me talk to you. Maybe, is it okay if you reconsider changing your mind? Oh, no, it's not? No, you still think she's bad? Okay, that's fine. I'm going to still be in relation with you. As if life's acceptable here in this way. It's not acceptable. If I supported a girl who did that against my mom, I'm just as guilty against my own mom of that sin and crime as such a girl in that position would be the girlfriend. So there's two wrongdoers now, not one. And when there's two wrongdoers, now, not only should my mom not talk to her, but would it be right for that mom to have a substantive problem with me that necessarily would, at least partially, affect the quality of our relationship? Of course. And would one in such a woman's shoes be right for feeling that way? Yeah, because that's an insult to her. Because that'd be a huge insult to her. This is the same position now here. Every word spoken again is another universe of an insult. And if it's unmerited, that's another eternity of hell for that person to pay forever, again and again. It never ends until you bow. That's called remorse. That's called repentance. I left. Now, obviously, the audience may feel, obviously, you should never be speaking to these people again. This is sick. And she's even worse because she frames it if it's, no, that's just fine. I won't be doing anything about that. Everything's okay. Life will just continue on unfixed. No. It's immoral for you to continue to relate to such a person and maintain them within our lives, because our lives are joint in that we're family. You're not allowed morally to forcibly stick someone into an equation where they've done wrong. But because you want them around, you're going to twist it. So make it look like it's the other one who did the wrong. Yeah, that way you could perpetuate the sickness, right? Yeah, everybody can see clearly what's happening. It's very clear like that. Now, time goes on. Obviously, I'm becoming progressively less and less happy with this situation, as it should be. Now, and there's so many more stories as to what's happened. Yeah, I'll fast forward a little bit. About 1 or 2 years later, something like this. Again, as suggested, things are never quite the same. In terms of my health, here's some of the additional problems. I'd end up having all that cocaine. I'd end up experiencing not just tears in the intestines, but tears of connective tissue, or my knee ligaments or tendons would start blowing out. And people could see. I remember showing Sarah one day, a recent ex-girlfriend, relatively, look at my knee, how it looks like. Because one of the cartilages just broke out. She's like, oh my God, dude, your leg looks like it's twisted off and hanging off. I'm like, yeah. Every time, look at the other leg, that one looks normal. And then look at this leg, that's fucked up. Holy shit. Looks like your kneecap twisted off, and then the shin below it got revolved and twisted inside of that. It was just hanging. I'm like, yeah, I walk around like this. And that's not the only one that tears. I have many tears in all sorts of various places of connective tissue. Why? Because I took antibiotics, and everybody knows when you look up antibiotics effects on cartilage tissue, it causes tears. So many people have 20 tears after taking antibiotics because that's what antibiotics do. And where I have a metabolic issue, where I'm not metabolizing things out of the system, when other people take antibiotics, they'll metabolize most of it, and only when they take a lot over lots of time will enough of it accrue to start crystallizing in the tissues to make it brittle, such as it begins to tear. But for me, I took a bit, and that's enough, and all of a sudden, right after antibiotic courses were taken, all these tears start. Well, that's no coincidence. You go online, you see exactly the pharmacology and the nature of the properties of the chemicals, why it's happening. So people can see I have fucking torn things here, torn things there, torn bicep here, torn thing there. It's sick. To have to live with something like this only compels the production of compassion if you're a more normal person. So, there I am one day. This is a couple years later, 1 or 2 years, something like that. I'm in my room. I'm doing yoga. I'm doing my own exercises. My mom is a visitor, so she comes. Now, when you visit somewhere where the person lives there and you're not a resident, there's a certain extra flow of order and respect that needs to go to the host of that place. Why? Because they're in their home. So you're not going to make someone feel uncomfortable in their home where they have nowhere else to run away from, but you do, but you're going to bring antagonism to where they are. That's not correct morally. So you don't do that. But when you've got the mind spatial resolution of Barbara Winslow, these things don't occur to you. So you just kind of reflexively do anything that you want. Okay? Now, she's there, and also to note, she was doing a 3-day fast at that time. Now, this might have been the first 3-day fast that she's ever done in her whole entire life, because let me tell you, she didn't know how to handle it. This might have been the 3rd day or so of her fast. So when this happens, some people get grouchy when they get hungry. Now, funny thing, my mom always portrayed herself as someone who's just a nice person, like Pollyanna type. Listen, this is no Pollyanna. People who are anxious/nice are often anxious/nice because they never learned how to deal with the world outside of the reflex of anxiety. So oftentimes what happens when you give these people, when there's any break from that, they become jerks. They don't know, they never learn how to treat people right, responsibly from the start. because they had to. Only their anxiety made them, but it's like a crutch where the actual muscle structure for holding your own weight up properly was never developed. As soon as the crutch ever gets set down, sometimes an ugliness is what manifests after that, because you don't actually have the real moral fiber. It was a anxiety coerced fiber where you didn't take on the morality. You never knew how to. So it only appears as morality by coincidence because you're just too anxious ever to do anything else except smile at people your whole life. Those are the worst. Because you never actually learn what it is to be moral. You only learn how to fear. It's whatever. I could go on all day about that. Right? So, well, there she is. 3 days not eating. So, here we are. Hold on, I'm trying to remember. Now there's like multiple stories. I'm trying to remember which one. There's so many of them. They all kind of twist together. Now, one moment. I need to recall exactly what, because I must make sure to speak accurately, because that is my best offensive and defensive weapon and base, is correct speech. I don't want to conflate multiple stories into a single story. So let me clearly remember what happened, and I'll say, let's see. Right, okay. It was as I thought it was. I'm clarifying my memory. This is consistent. So here's what's happened. I'm in my room doing stretches, yoga, moves, calisthenics, things like this. Obviously, my background has been as a personal trainer. So tell me, if someone's background is a fitness background, isn't it kind of normal for them to do fitness related things in their lives? And regardless of whether or not you're actually in the profession, any grown man is fit and entitled to at least try to do some kind of workout or exercise in his life as he sees fit. So I'm there, I'm doing my workouts. Never really had a huge problem with working out. And most of my sudden connective tissue rips and tears would happen from things not even associated with exercise, but just, I'd step here randomly or turn my neck that way randomly. Just weird freak accidents like this. Yeah, I've shown amazing things, things that have happened to my neck and the vertebrae too. It would blow your mind. I have pictures that would make you really blow your mind. One shows my neck good, the other one shows fucking ripped connective tissue in the neck and the spine or whatever the hell. The vocal cord starts hanging in a different position where you could clearly see it on the picture. Live with that for a while. It's all sick. Now, if you're the mother of a person in that position, what are you supposed to have when they're dealing with something like that? Or then something happens new again in that way. That's like, oh my God, that sucks. I'm so sorry to hear that. That must be a big burden. That's a lot. Wow. Oh, did you feel better? This kind of shit. Obviously, nothing else is fit. Well, I'm in my house doing my exercise, and all of a sudden, something rips. I was doing like a side plank, pull lever thing, and all of a sudden, a very deep part of my abdomen has a huge detachment. Just, I feel it ripping, sudden elongation, and then a sudden weakness and collapse because there's no more tight musculature there, and my whole torso basically crimps in half sideways at that place. I'm like, oh, fuck. And I'm like, God, please, what the fuck? Not again. Not some more serious shit. I stand up. Yeah, I'm like half crooked now. I'm like, damn it. I'm pushing one way to tighten the muscle. I could push one way. I push the other way. There's no power. I ended up having to go to a specialist for this. They were so concerned when they evaluated me in their doctor's office that they almost called the emergency ambulance to get me to a hospital. Do you understand how serious of an injury I sustained there? And you wouldn't believe from how innocuous of a movement too, which further tells you is not the irresponsibility of the movement. I wasn't doing flips off of a roof or some shit. It was because of how serious the underlying damage was sustained, which the lack of metabolization from a working liver perpetuated by allowing more solutes and saturates and chemicals to build up in the tissues, soaking everything without breaking them down properly. So, there I am. And after I have this horrendous experience, which is basically traumatizing. Do you understand trauma? You go rip your deep abdominal supportive structures so that you're limping sideways, and go see if you're having a fine day that day. And tell me if it'll be fine for other people to basically mistreat you and abuse you right afterwards, even when they come into knowledge that some shit like this just happened to you. Is that cool? That's great? That's called love? That's family loving each other? That's psychotic shit that should be destroyed. I came out of my bedroom. My mom was, for some reason, she's still coming around there. Like, I'm there, she's there. I come up to her. And I'm telling her, Mom, you can't believe what just happened. I seem to have blown out an entire part of my abdomen just doing some regular exercise. Any normal woman, 99 out of 100 women who are moms, would say, oh my God, no, my baby, what happened? Especially if it's a son, out of this world. Oh my God, what happened? What? I said, are you okay? What happened? Let me see what's going on. We got to take care of this. Oh no, blah, 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 blah. No, you know what she says? Callously turning away. When I said this to her, she just turned away, and then as if to just throw it from over her shoulder back to me, like she's not even gonna face me when she says this, just says, so then what are you doing fucking exercises like that for? Yeah, I want that to sink in for everybody. So first I have to go through the trauma of living through something like this, where later, you know, it's so serious that when I go to a doctor, he wants to get the ambulance. I have to stop him from calling one. But she will tell you, basically to signal to you, that's how much regard I have for you. I just see you as incompetent. Anything that you did where must have hurt you, it's because you are so stupid, and I think you're so stupid, and I furthermore don't even have any reverence for you, so I'll just say to your face how stupid I think you are. That's how to treat someone with anti-dignity. That is such a heinous violation of the dignity of a human being. I fucking got very upset. Rightly so. Now, in life, let's check the karmic moral framework. When you do something recklessly, morally, flamingly idiotic towards someone, do you A, deserve the natural response that they give you? Or B, if they show anger and express it, then you get to turn it around and make them double wrong in the continued gaslighting framework that will never end because you're actually sick. Yeah. This is one of the biggest stories I think that have come out in all time. So, what happens then? Let's establish context. Every time for the past few months, several months or more even, before this date, many times, if my mom and I were sitting around talking in the kitchen, walking around, and we're going back and forth, and there's like a minor argument or disagreement where she says something offensive or dumb like she always does, but it doesn't arise to like a deep cut like this, okay, but it's like lesser, you know, but we're like arguing back and forth, like a little bickering, but it's half friendly bickering, but it's still a little, you know. There's this one particular gesture that I used to employ, which is the gesture of cartoonishly, like Three Stooges gesturing and mimicking like a bop to her head. Not that I would actually go and strike her head, because that would be in most contexts that'd be probably over the top. You're not actually hitting people, but you're gesturing like a Three Stooges, like, what are you doing that for? Like, bam, like, to show, like, bump, like, that's wrong, like, don't do, what was that for? You know, like, let me get you back gesture, like, oh, beck you, like the same as if to, like, push your arm lightly, be like, oh, stop it, you know, like, oh, there now, come on now. You see? We established this as a precedence, but this was used already many times. There was no serious offense ever taken from this before because it was understood. But she says something dumb, but it was like much lighter than that, and I just gesture like a bop onto her head that wouldn't go on her head. It just gesture a bop that would be like a, you know, a foot or two from her head, but just to gesture like bop, like come on now, I don't appreciate that. Like, what is that? This was probably borrowed from, it was borrowed, I believe, from his neighbor, Mark, who had his mom living with him. And I used to be their personal trainer, in fact. And we all knew them since we were young. And Mark used to openly do this to his mom, even with neighbors around. So if I'm so bad, no, he's even worse. He's doing it all the time to her openly. But of course, she was a somewhat normal mom in that, number one, she loved Mark to death. She passed away since then, very sadly, but she loved him no matter what. Number two, so when he would do that, she would continue playing in as well. He'd do that gesture, and then she would be like, you know, ow, 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 okay, ow, 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 you know, and smile, and good, see, good, beautiful programming / behavior / good loving mother. Nice, okay? And with past use of this gesture between my own mom and I, because now we're sharing gestures on the floor of that building and passing them along and using them, there's no problem ever before. Well, what she said there was very, very deeply sick, heinous, and offensive. I really took offense to that. Now, anytime someone morally offends you, you have the right of rebuke. Morally speaking, your rebuke is allowed to take any form ranging from implicit rejection of the person in some way to harsh words. Yes, that's correct. That's part of the nature of man. You'll be given harsh words, all the way up to and including non-injurious physical contact. You understand? Now, it's wrong to beat someone, and it's doubly wrong to beat your parent in the true sense of the word beat, so as to truly beat upon them in a genuinely injurious manner, because that's, you know, that's crazy. However, I stand there, I'm very upset with what I just heard, so by instinct, but by correct instinct, I show my upset by employing the gesture of bop. Like, how could you say that to me? That's fucking dumb. Why the hell would you, as if to convey exactly, why the hell do you think it's fine to say that to me? I fucking have a half-torn torso right now, and then you're gonna add insult to injury? What's wrong with you fucking idiotic Polacks? What is it? It really is all of you. You don't fit here. There's something wrong in your programming from past trauma from your own, maybe, but I don't know. Maybe it's just because you don't have enough selenium in your soil in that Poland. It's like the only place in the world, one of the only 2 or so places in the world where human civilization exists, where there's like a suspicious lack of selenium where everyone else has it. All right, the Mediterranean countries have a lot of selenium. They're very warm in their nature. Selenium creates serotonin, or contributes to the construction of that, and serotonin is what produces love. So when you see the Slavic people, especially Polish Slavic, and they're very cold and crab-like, like scorpions and snakes, it's because they're lacking a neurotransmitter that every other human race in the world has. Oh, maybe you are all strange. That's why everyone else in the world makes jokes about you. Polish jokes everywhere. Because everyone notices you don't operate correct. You have a completely different neural framework than any other ethnic group. Something wrong. Obviously, if you're responsible for bringing offense to someone, you're responsible for that. But that's a very Anglican, Anglo-American framework, because there's more of a dignity and sovereignty and freedom aspect to it, where if you're kings, well, then you give royal treatment to kings, you see? But when you're Slavs, Slavic people, the word Slav is rooted in the word slave. Yeah, they say blacks were slaves. Well, in world history, if you look in a grander scope, you're going to see something interesting. The Slavic people, as quote-unquote white, were slaves too. Now, this also surely had a detrimental effect on the programming of that ethnic group as well. The larger cluster of ethnic groups that comprise of the Slavic genetics or something, because I don't even remember who it was that was doing the enslaving there. It might have been some other groups. But, you know, when you're treated like a slave for a few hundred years or more, it becomes imprinted into your imprinting to become harsher. If I treat your kind with disdain, I'm mimicking to you, it's like monkey see, monkey do, that you are also to treat your own kind with disdain, because after all, don't you see, your kind are disdainful. And when you bring that impression onto someone's collective subconscious mind, even the collective ethnic mind, years and centuries after the actual slavery, they will still have an increased disregard. So look, it manifests even till today. Russians are going and killing Ukrainians, and Ukrainians are killing Russians. It's all instinct. It's called, I was programmed to see you as low, so we'll all see each other as low, so we'll all kill each other like it's nothing. Meanwhile, Americans didn't kill each other, because no one ever enslaved the Anglo-American people for going as far back, though they were subjects to their own king, but it was their own people. And then they even broke out of that king-subject relationship, and they were the first people on earth since the Greeks to facilitate that kind of sovereignty. So we loved ourselves, so we treat each other's and ourselves good. So that becomes the healthy fiber of society. That's closer to heavenly, the kind of manifestation that Christ would have called for. What the Slavic brute idiots are doing, which is it'll never end. It's a chronic torture forever for everybody, but except you call that normal. That's not normal. So we're here to teach you something better. You came to America to learn something better. Here's how to give people dignity. You mean you're stupid all along to ever deprive anyone of it? Yes! Wake up now, finally, for the first time in your lives. Good. So, there's the bullshit. I do the gesture. As soon as I do the gesture, let's say, 0 out of 30 times or 20 or 30 times or so, did this woman ever reject the gesture? You understand? When the gesture is employed, well, what are you going to do? That's my adult grown son who wants to show this gesture. Obviously, if he's showing it, it's because there's a reason. You see? Who am I to compel or disprove of something unless it's morally unfit contextually? But is it morally unfit contextually here? No, because obviously what she did was so insulting that that's crazy. Obviously, anyone who you talk to is going to feel very offended. And if it's in a chain of offenses that have lasted years now, that have just built up because you never apologized for any of it since the beginning, but you keep thinking that I'm there for abuse, every successive response is going to be, of course, naturally, is going to be higher and higher. So the first oh, Jesus. I'm seeing some gay people here. Okay, I got to go. I don't dislike them, but it's just a little, whatever. I don't want to be accused of being hateful. I'm not hateful. I feel bad for them. They don't even want me to feel bad for them, they tell me, here and there. All right, let them be happy, I guess. I don't know. It's just a little weird. It's not that weird. I think it is. If you look at it, it's kind of weird to see two butch dudes making out. That was fucking weird. All right. Anyway, I hate this. I gotta go. What am I talking about now? So look, if you make an offense against somebody, the number one thing is they're going to react with like a level 3 thing, okay? But if in reaction to that reaction, there's no apology and a correction, but instead later you do it the same thing again, that's going to make a level 7 reaction the next time. Now, if you keep compounding with compound interest, the shit grows, doesn't it? You see? The debt. The third time, it's going to be a level 15 reaction. But then when you keep framing like, no, I really believe it's this is fit for you, you're going to get to level 1,000 and there's going to be dead bodies everywhere. I'm not saying I'm going to do that, but I'm saying in life, that's a direction you always tend towards because of every progressive movement that you make that has indignation as a result. So go level 15, level 17, level 25, level 35. So it keeps going that way. So now I'm up to level fucking 79 in the family history, that all the shit that was piled up, or fucking level 1,000 is murder. And everybody loses. Fucking, but I'm right, I'm the victim here, fucking pieces of shit. So I do the bop gesture. I don't really hit her on the head. I don't do that. Like to strike, to implement a true beat of the person's skull. It doesn't happen. But I did the gesture of the bop. Now, if I do that, her role is to go, fuck, all right, I'm sorry. Do you see that? But if you believe your moral role is to hold your ego and say, oh, now I must punish my son for Bobby, no, because you're losing the context. A grown man has the prerogative to rebuke through any words or any non-injurious gesture all human beings on earth. That's why God appointed man as king over everyone in the realm. If I don't have the right to even rebuke a parent of mine who's doing wrong, that means the parent has full immunity de facto from ever being compelled to do anything else but wrong. So they have freedom to do wrong. But God never permits such thing. The moral structure never permits such a thing in actuality. The Islamics got it the most correct when they said, you know, be kind to your parents, but when they fall short of the mark, then it becomes a little difficult, because it becomes a hard balance to keep between be kind but enforce justice. And where the parent takes on the reckless risk of acknowledging that their treatment of the son becomes so much indignation that you run the risk of them not being kind to you, who takes the karmic liability for any unkindness that manifests as a result? You can't expect to stomp on a dog's feet and expect that dog to never bark. A dog doesn't have the obligation to be as well trained as the best trained dog that's ever existed in the world. No, your recklessness and the fact that that's a dog, both of those factors combined are enough that if you're an adult and you know what you're doing, you are the one who's held liable. That's why in that article, it was clear that it was the parent in the Jewish circumstance that was banned, and not the son, obviously, because the parent should have known better. Take responsibility. So what happened afterwards? Instead of her saying, I'm sorry, she basically turned back to me and mimicked practically a fucking haymaker to my head, and very, very aggressively yelled, boom! And then looked at me with like evil eyes, like she wanted to fucking attack me. So, son, here's the lesson in life, right? This is what the love of a mother looks like. It looks like if you come out and injure yourself, I'm going to mock your competence for injuring yourself. And then, if you don't like that I just took away from your dignity, then I'll try to show you that I despise you even more by trying to boom you, because it's all about making you eat abuse and to accept abuse and to train you to love that I just boom over you. But God gave me infraresist. So I'll never go, oh, that's good, fine, thanks, Mom. No, all immoral things that are actually immoral will always be snuffed out. So I turn back. Now, what's the moral substantive measure that the Bible even represents? the measure with which you measure is the measure that will be measured onto you. You understand? In a general circumstance, if I were to do that to my mom, and I were the first one doing it, and it were for no cause, that would be bad and not right, and dishonoring of my mom, and I'd be guilty of a bad inconsideration. Anyone in such a situation. Okay. Why? Because she didn't do nothing wrong, A, and then B, even if she did do something wrong, that would be, I mean, the way she did it was more aggressive than the way I did it. I did it as the gesture, like the Three Stooges gesture, but she did it like boom, like I'm gonna fucking fight you. For real. Like I fully resist. I'm like, you stupid woman, you have no, it never ends, your delusions. You have no right to be angry, but you're not gonna fool me into thinking that, oh, this is fine. So because you did it to me, you waived your right to not have the same done to you. So exactly the force and effect that she did to me with like hostile anger, I just repeated the exact same hostile anger back to her by doing a perfect mirror response back to her, which is basically a truly aggressive version of the original gesture, this time to match the level of escalation that she did, which was to go boom. I just went also boom, 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 and just waved fists over her head in the same way, just to show you, you measured onto me without justice. That means God has me do it back to you correctly, so that you learn that you shouldn't do that to me because you were wrong all along. Now, if you're a moral woman at that point in time, what do? You realize, oh my God, I've driven my son to anger. I'd better stop. Why? How dare I have allowed that? It's my responsibility. What kind of woman am I? What kind of mother am I? These are really sick things I'm doing. I need to stop because that's fucked up of me. No. You know what happened instead? She walked out of the apartment. No apology. No, it's about worshiping Satan. You see, Satan is inversion. So when you try to hold on to inversion, that's called worshiping Satan in substance and effect. So when you walk out of the house to try to make more antagonizing instead of petitioning for a reharmonization, you're petitioning to be sent to hell, and God says, yes, I will send you to hell for that. I will send you to hell. Your kid didn't deserve that. He's injured, you're in his house, and you're the feminine parent. You owe a yin expression in response to his sad injury. You don't shit on him. What are you, sick? Mental. Break your skull and let the brains seep out, and then put a new one in there. It might work better. Why should it not be that way? Your current one obviously doesn't fucking work. God never imparts upon me an obligation to deal with your evil. So always acknowledge that rebuke is good. Yes, I love rebuke. Only a certain type of person resists rebuke. And what is it? Let's see if we can find it on our screen here. It says, do not reprove a scoffer, or such scoffer will hate you. But when you reprove a wise person, a wise one will love you. Therefore, so where reproval comes either way, you will know what the quality and nature of the one who is being reproved or rebuked is, depending on their reaction. If they resent and fight against and resist your rebuke and try to argue with you more, they're not wise. They're scoffers, which is another way of saying they're morally corrupt people who simply sit and mock and scorn and scoff unrighteously because they're sick inside and are fucked up people. You can only either be wise and smart and intelligent in such a way that harmonizes you to correct treatment of other people, which is the right and moral thing, or the opposite, which is, they said this, I think that, the spirit of, that's scoff. That's scoffers. was the spirit of my mom. It doesn't matter what the words are. It's the tone and the attitude and the voice. So if you sound like, God kills you. That's it. That's it. Wake up. She goes up. And then the boyfriend comes in back down along with her. I'm standing there, and again, I'm like rolling my eyes, like to myself, fucking going, again. These people dared to do this once, and after the negative impact that had on the lives of everybody involved, that was relatively subtle still. See, it only gets worse and worse the longer you don't learn how to start correctly treating loved ones who are supposed to be treated with love. The more and more, because I said the level always goes up and up and up until God eventually just crushes you. Okay? He comes in. I'll never forget these things for as long as I live. Neither will I ever forgive or forget those who allowed it without it being fucking fully solved to the fullest drop measure to completeness possible. That is your obligation and your duty. Every millimeter short you fall of this is your death sentence to hell. Not from me, but karmically speaking from God. Be clear. And you will deserve it. May every sick person such in this way who is sick, unrepentant, in the face of many direct rebukes, suffer. I pray every day that you people suffer. You need the anguish to realize that you need to how to wake up. The boyfriend comes in. He doesn't, again, we could do the reasonable comparison test. What would a reasonable person in such situation do? Okay, he'd ask what happened, because he just received hearsay information from someone who likes to bend stories. So obviously if you're a man, you're walking up to another man, you say, well, first what happened, then you hear both sides, then you begin to make up state opinions about determinations that you believe you have arrived at, which you think are right. No. If you're an oaf-headed, boar-headed, pig-headed person, you bypass and skip all those steps. You simply run into the kitchen, okay? Raise up your phone, which already has a flashlight from the back indicating that he's recording this whole time. So now when you're in my house, you're going to be recording me, but without my permission, of course. I just have someone who doesn't live here open the door for somebody else who doesn't live here to come up to the face to someone who does live here to engage in conduct which I do not permit guests of this house to engage in, being the host. Do you see? But none of these things matter. If you're a regular human being on earth, no one else would do that to you. But if you're me, and then you're the mom of that person, only Barbara Winslow syndrome is, for you, we will treat you like you are human scum. We will just bring people against you like you are some kind of problem. Anyone else will get respect, not you. Do you see the harm that you do to the dignity of a person? Not only the dignity, but psychologically, and also the programming that you put into the person's aura, so to speak. You're still having a detrimental effect. You're hurting your own family every time you do this because of the complexes you bring to that person. You are responsible for doing these things. He raises a camera, he's recording me while he's talking to me, basically saying, listen, what is this shit that you're doing? Blah, 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 blah. I know I didn't do anything wrong. So when I do nothing wrong, I have to stand there and fucking be treated like I did something wrong? I don't fucking think so. But regardless, here he is. He's under the belief I'm doing something wrong, which is her responsibility for incorrectly framing such a belief. I don't know what the hell he was doing. I'm sure she went up there and said something that's a stretch of the truth of what happened, going, he's being violent, he's attacking me. No, that's not true. If the story I just said is correct, which it is, and you hear it as it was said, you don't reasonably extract or infer a violent attack. No, you see, oh, well, if that happened and that and that, that's like, now I see why he was pissed off, but and then he was doing that, but then the meaning of that and the content, oh, I see, no, that's just, I see the twist here then. I see how it's spun. Well, that's fucked up. Your job as a man who comes in that situation is to make sure there is no spin. But when you know you hate the guy too, the kid in my position, the one in me, you love spins too. You don't care that there's injustice. You feed the evil side. Get it? You're all teaming up, and you support each other's injustice. So then, therefore, that's how you allow more injustice, because you keep reinforcing to each other that, yes, we do love this, and this is fine. This is good for him. I hope God hurts you all and puts you into hell. He will. You deserve it, 1,000%, 1,000%. So I have a balance of situations to deal with too. Number one, I know he's wrong, ill-informed. Number two, I'm right. And three, she's wrong most of all. But this guy's angry. So number one is, well, I think you're wrong. I'm not going to argue that with you to your face now. You obviously don't understand. He's swept up in the passion of the moment that he thinks it's fit for him to stick a camera in my face against any permission that was granted for him to do so. If you come in where I live and do something that's not allowed by me, you're in the wrong double. All right? So he's like, listen, what is this shit? What's going on? You're being all right. Or you want me to call the police? You want us to call the police? For what? There's no crime. He said his piece, going on for a minute. There better be some peace and quiet here, all right? Basically is what it came around to at the end. Now, I gave the biggest concession in the world at that point. And this will be one of the last times that we find me giving you a little more benefit of the doubt until it really becomes just ridiculous and too much. I gave him the final pearl to cast before that swine. Regardless of the fact that you're ill-positioned to be here to speak to me like this, I nevertheless felt for his position that in the moment he believes himself, and he, in his instinct, simply wants order and something, don't make the problems, blah, blah, blah. Well, you should be informed very soon what the hell the real truth is, but for now, none of us want problems, so in that sense, we're all on the same side. See? So it's two men standing in the kitchen, one of them being unreasonable and the other one being reasonable / defending his own dignity, but also considering the situation. I could have started arguing with him immediately. I could have done all this. No, you're going to get one more thing. I'll make a concession. You make a concession too. So here's how it works. I looked at him. I showed, listening. I looked him right in the eyes and nodded and listened to show like I'm considering each thing you're saying here. Because, wait till you actually figure out, if you ever do, what really has happened here. I said, okay. And then at the end of it, listen, okay, that's good, you understand? I looked at him, and I simply said, and I remember I took my right hand, and I patted him a little bit on the back even, and just said, I got you. I got you. Rozumiem, meaning I understand. Good. Okay. Oh. Wow. Okay. Well, John, that doesn't sound like a bad story at all. Yeah. Wait. You would think, right? Normal person would mean, oh, well, that should be the end of the story. It's not. I said, okay. Now, if you're, again, reasonable test. If you're a guy in his shoes and you just got the pat on the back going like, okay, I got you. I got it. And we'll discuss more later if we need to, but basically, don't worry for now. Okay, got you. Fine. I showed concession and agreement. Okay. So he turns around, walks out. I'm extremely unhappy. I'm turning back to the issue. Well, Mom, you have perpetuated injustice against me. But Obviously, so heads need to cool now. She left. I'm home alone, basically. Or I don't remember if I was home or my grandpa. My grandpa might have been there. One of those two. I'm stressed out. I'm like, this is not right. What kind of sick family do I live in? And why isn't God helping me? Why does the evil keep happening? I know why now. It's because I didn't rebuke it enough. His instructions were clear. Rebuke, rebuke, rebuke. Anytime you allow it and accept it, you're accepting evil, therefore you're as guilty too. So that's why it's going to keep happening to you, because you keep accepting sin. Here's where the story goes next. I go to sleep. It was amazing I was able to fall asleep, actually, but after about an hour of sitting like angrily fucking clutching my teeth like, stop injustice, I'm only human, stop abusing me, I was able to fall asleep. Now, here's the thing with my grandpa at the time. He had Alzheimer's. He has a penchant for walking around and doing just about anything in the house. He could be pulling things, moving things, ripping things, not ripping really, but you know, you get your hands up in anything, and then, you know, we need to help him out a little bit. I miss him a lot. I loved him so much. He was a good man. Well, as I'm half asleep, all of a sudden I hear tearing of my belongings, my papers, where I have specific notes written, tearing those papers off of the wall. And I heard that as I'm half sleeping, and I'm like, oh no, wow, he's more active than usual, ripping my papers off the wall. So I yell out in my half sleep, like, you know, Grandpa, don't rip that, stop it. Drift off half to sleep again. I hear more ripping. More of my papers are being torn and ripped off the wall. That means I have to wake up now. I wake up. I go around, and once I'm standing around the couch over to where the papers were posted. About to tell my grandpa, you know, come on, what are you doing that for? This is my stuff. My written notes and stuff. Except to my amazing shock, that wasn't my grandpa ripping my papers off of my wall in my home. I told you everybody left prior, and I went to sleep in a closed door. I woke up to find my mom's boyfriend in my house ripping my papers off of my wall without my permission. That's called criminal mischief. So right there, you could be arrested and thrown in jail for destroying people's property without their permission. Boneheaded idiot. And furthermore, who allowed him? As soon as I saw him do that, I was like, what the fuck? Now, reasonable test. If you're a normal person who is just caught ripping someone's papers off of his wall, and then the man wakes up and then he's just stunned, I didn't even become extremely angry. I was more, you know, the audacity effect really does work. If you're so extremely audacious, it disarms them because they're not even angry. They don't even understand how that's possible. Like, I don't even understand reality right now. How there is a very disarming effect to that, because you're more left stunned. So I'm actually just stunned there, like, am I seeing this real? There's no way you could be and offensive and insulting. No, instead of realizing like, oh, I'm sorry, so of course he's not sorry, he did it on purpose. He then raises his camera again, which was shining bright all along this whole time as he continues to record. This is hours later, where he re-entered the home without my permission to antagonize me further. Now, wait a minute, John. Hold on a second. This doesn't make sense. You just said that the prior visit he made when he came downstairs, even though it might have been based on some misunderstanding, obviously, it seems like you guys came to some kind of tacit agreement not to get all crazy and to maintain the status quo at that point, and to leave the shit be until things could calmly be discussed further if necessary. You'd be exactly right. That was the understanding. Ah. Well, then what the hell is he doing there again? Therefore, that's not right. That's not right at all, and no system of justice in the world would permit such a thing. Therefore, what he's doing is wrong. And yet, instead of being clearly raging at this, nevertheless, I'm like, okay, let's see how he explains himself. Too nice, you see? Too, because you programmed your whole life, you know, that's your mom, so you have to have a parental level of reverence for them, and then, you know, by some weird bullshit association, this boyfriend of hers, it's as if I should treat him with half of that such a thing as well. No. But it only goes to a point, and if you keep trampling on it, wearing it out, eventually you will convince us all that it will be ripped. You don't deserve any respect anymore at all. But you got to show it enough times that you're really that stupid. You're standing there, he's recording me as if I'm the one doing something wrong, you see. I'm telling you, satanic inversion never ends. It's all about framing things to have them always look like the opposite. Okay? It's like coming up to somebody, punching them in the head, and then going, "Stop hitting me," as you're hitting them. "Stop hitting me," as you're punching them. "Stop hitting me." You get it? Now, I'm going to try to cover as much of this stuff as I can remember. And boy, do I remember a lot, but I really want to make sure I hit every relevant thing possible. Because there's so many little facets of the conversation that ended up ensuing right there. This was phase 2 of the day. So first of all, he broke the responsibility that one in his position owes. See, if you're in his position, you know that after visit number 1, everyone lucked out because somehow the house of cards was left standing that is not being knocked down by anybody. All right? The safest and best thing you can do is leave it there, because miraculously it's still standing, and it could get a lot worse. And it's not going to. That's a rational mind. That's how it would work. Now he comes back to aggressive and provoke without merit more than what is called for. So we move down towards the bedroom area to discuss further. I wasn't tolerating this. I'm like, "Why are you ripping my stuff? What's going on here?" He starts talking to me. I'm fucking 30 plus years old already at this point. He starts talking to me like, "There's not going to be any of your things on this wall. You fucking moron, you're in my house, you piece of shit. I live here as a resident, and you fucking are my things. You have no right at all to rip my shit. Who the hell are you? I don't look at you, I don't look towards you for permission to do anything in this life, you piece of shit," is what I'm thinking. But in my words, more respectfully, he didn't deserve respect. So again, my own fault. I should have just been gouging his eyes out immediately. It has to hurt you. That's the master lesson of all. The more time goes on, only the more and more obvious it is that that is the ultimate rule of the universe. It has to hurt you. Every time you people fuck up, it becomes more clear that the only thing I've done wrong is not hurt you people enough. That is very, very clear. Because through each grace I give, you